Meteorologist Cody Proctor right now in the KREM 2 Weather Center tonight because we have a weather impact alert as we head into this week, particularly for Tuesday and for Wednesday. Already this week has started rather warm for us, but this week we could get even warmer as we take a look at our conditions for the next few days. So let's talk about it right now. So as far as the timing of this weather impact alert that we have for these fire weather conditions, the biggest days will be tomorrow, so Tuesday, and of course on Wednesday, where we're seeing the possibility for dry conditions paired up with gusty conditions, as well as some very warm conditions. In particular for Tuesday, we are actually looking at highs around much of eastern Washington and into North Idaho into the 90s for us. And some places almost flirt with triple digits. We'll continue to keep a close eye on that. But because we're seeing those conditions, even though heading into Wednesday, we actually see a drop in our temperatures because of how dry it has been and how those conditions will continue to dry out for us into our Wednesday. We have put forth this weather impact alert for Tuesday and Wednesday just because if a fire starts during this time period, there is a possibility and the real potential for it to grow rapidly should one start. And even right now, as we take a look at our current conditions for us tonight, it is still warm as we take a look over Lake Coeur d'Alene at the moment. Slight winds over at Lake Coeur d'Alene, but that might not be the case over at the Spokane Airport where we're seeing 3-mile-per-hour winds right now tonight. But take a look at our temperature right now, 87 degrees at this moment. Now, I want to put things in perspective. Our average temperature for this time of year for this day is 81 degrees. So we're above average already and just so dry outside as we check on that relative humidity. And you can see from our current temperatures around our region, our temperatures range from those 80s mostly up into those low 90s. Moscow is still holding on to those 70s right now, right at 70 degrees. We're currently at 87 in Wenatchee and Moses Lake, 91 in Omak, 90 in Othello. If you're making the trip towards Walla Walla this evening, it is also warm tonight. Temperatures are currently at 86 there, 82 right now in Sandpoint. Now, the good news is right now our winds for the most part are relatively calm to light, which will give us a break from some of the breezy to gusty winds that we are expecting as we head into later this week. And even during the weekend, during the 4th of July, we were seeing some breezy conditions. We actually had a weather impact alert for Saturday for the 4th of July holiday, just paired up with those hot and dry conditions with those breezy winds. Now we head into this next one. Now, as we take a look at our current conditions outside, we have been seeing partly cloudy, mostly clear skies, just depends on where you're at, but with few clouds here or there. But a few places looks like it's picking up some rain showers, mostly around I-90, around the neighborhood of Wallace, Kellogg right there, not too far off from St. Mary's, kind of around that Montana-Idaho line. So as we head into the rest of this evening, might still see some precipitation as we head into tonight, but eventually that is expected to die down for us for those areas. Now, heading into tomorrow, here's a look at our weather headlines. We do have these region-wide highs mostly into the 90s for tomorrow, and a couple of those places, like I mentioned, might be actually flirting with those triple digits, kind of seeing those culprits around Moses Lake and around Omak. Now, because of our conditions, we have that midweek elevated fire weather risk. And of course, we have those red flag warnings for Tuesday and for Wednesday. A lot of that comes down to our weather pattern, which you can see right here. As you take a look towards the Gulf of Alaska, you can see that counterclockwise system right there. That is a low pressure system, and that is expected to bring a dry cold front for us into the northwest. You can see it making its way heading towards the northwest right here. That is expected to make its way into our Tuesday. It's kind of working its way through the Cascade Gaps and bringing some of those breezy to gusty winds as we watch those conditions, and we could still continue to feel those impacts as we head into the rest of Tuesday. Now, the National Weather Service has issued red flag warnings for much of our region, and this is kind of an interesting one just because the first round of red flag warnings is looking to impact Okanagan Valley, Central Washington. These will kick off at 1 tomorrow afternoon. That's Tuesday. That'll stay in effect until 10 o'clock in the evening before they expire. Then we get to Wednesday, and we actually see those red flag warnings come back and expand to include more of the region. That does include Spokane and Deer Park. Those warnings are set to start at about 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning. They'll stay in effect until 10 p.m. Wednesday night for those hot, dry, and gusty conditions that we are expecting, as you can see right here. So when we take a look at our fire weather model that we have here at KREM 2 News, you can see that we start to see more of that possibility of some of that fire weather danger increase around the Cascades as we head into our afternoon hours of Tuesday. Omak also seeing a possibility for some possible fire weather danger. Then as we head into the rest of this week and into Wednesday, Wednesday, you can see we have that fire weather risk or danger expand to include more of the Columbia Basin, parts of eastern Washington right there, north central Washington as well. You can see we're looking at more of a high fire weather danger further towards Yakima, not too far off from the Tri-Cities right there. But Spokane is not too far off from that possibility of that possible fire weather danger, so watch that pretty closely. And it's not the best news when we start to consider just how dry it is outside. Not just dry when it comes to our atmosphere, but just dry in general when we check out our drought monitor. OMAC, for example, we are currently in severe drought right now, and much of North Idaho is already in severe drought. This does include Pullman, looks like it includes Moscow, right around Coeur d'Alene, so you can see just how dry it is down there. Luckily, we don't have any extreme drought conditions in our region, but if you look down towards eastern Oregon, you can see it peaking right there, not too far from Umatilla and from Hermiston right there. So just watching that pretty closely, because again, it is very, very dry. Paired up with the winds that we are expecting, this is what could lead to some issues as we take a look at our weather models. Now, as for Tuesday, we start to see those winds pick up, but mostly again throughout central Washington around Moses Lake. Could see some sustained winds about 10 to 20 miles per hour. Wind gusts could be in the realm of about 20 to 25 miles per hour. What's interesting is as we take a look at those models, we start to see those winds potentially moving into Spokane early Wednesday morning and bringing us more of those breezy to gusty winds, and then become more widespread as we head into the rest of Wednesday as well. This is what we could see potentially around 7 o'clock on Wednesday. We are looking at winds potentially about 15 to 25 miles per hour, wind gusts of about 25 to 35 miles per hour. A lot of those winds much more westerly right there as we see more of that zonal weather pattern. That continues as we head into Thursday, because we also have a chance of those breezy conditions staying with us right there. So even though we have those red flag warnings, they will expire on Wednesday night. That chance for those breezy winds look to linger even as we head into Thursday before eventually things start to die down for us. Now we'll watch this pretty closely because we have been seeing also, of course, some fires already pop up this weekend. We have been tracking the latest as far as the Chelan Hills fire, and that, of course, has been bringing smoke to much of the region. We were already getting reports this weekend from folks, particularly around Kettle Falls, seeing smoke coming from the Chelan Hills fire. As we head into the rest of the next couple of days, we might see a little bit of a haze sticking around for us, especially around the OMAC area. Further north for our folks up in Canada, they've also been keeping track of several fires that have been burning in British Columbia. That's also been bringing some not great air quality at this time as we have been watching those conditions. We've been seeing some of those fires around Boston Bar in British Columbia right there. But eventually, thanks to those winds, we might actually see some of that smoke start to move out for us. We'll just see how this shapes up for us. This is just a model of what could happen. Well, I do want to talk about our air quality as we head into tonight for Spokane. Currently, we are in the moderate category. This is not too bad for us, but watching this go up and down for us as our evening has continued. But what we are expecting as we head into tomorrow is some good conditions as far as air quality. So enjoy that while we have that. Now, as we take a look at our weather pattern, again, as I mentioned, Thursday looks to be still breezy for us. We'll hang on to that just a little bit longer as we take a look at our longer term weather pattern. But heading into next week, we start to see some changes as well. Eventually, once we get through this weekend, we could potentially see some breezy winds at one point during the weekend. We'll get a better idea as we get closer to it. Next week, though, there's a possibility we could start to warm up. As you kind of see that red area right there, that ridge, might see that build up and we start to get more of that influence. So what that means for us when it comes to our outlook as we head into next week, we could see temperatures above our seasonal average for Spokane, much of the inland Northwest, North Idaho right there. But at least it's not quite as warm as what other places around the country could see, particularly into Colorado, Montana, parts of Idaho right there, and in Wyoming. As for our precipitation, not really seeing much change when it comes to any variations from our seasonal norm for this time of year. Now, as we take a look at our future tracker, we have had those clouds linger. We might see those clouds start to move out as we head into tomorrow for us. Should be seeing mostly sunny skies around the region for us tomorrow. We get more clouds heading into our overnight hours, and as we can see, there's actually a possibility you might get some quick sprinkles moving through Spokane early Wednesday morning. Before that moves out, those clouds are expected to move out and we clear up into Wednesday. but again, expect those breezy to gusty winds as we head into our afternoon and into our evening hours for us. If we want to take a peek ahead towards Thursday, looks like we'll also see mostly sunny skies for that day. Just again, we're still expecting those winds to stick around. Now for our forecast, lows for our early morning hours, looking to start things off pretty mild for us, mostly into the 50s. However, just be aware as we head into Tuesday, our forecast highs mostly into the 90s, well above our seasonal average. And you can see that Omak and Moses Lake both are expecting a high about 98 degrees. If you're making a trip towards the Tri-Cities, they're looking in Richland at a high of 103 degrees. St. Mary's could be about 92, potentially just a lot of 90s on this map. Sandpoint just flirting with that 90-degree mark, potentially seeing a high tomorrow of about 89 degrees. Now for us, we might be about 92, but again, we've got those breezy winds, we have that weather impact alert, and even though we're looking at a drop in our temperatures down into the mid-80s, just because of how dry it is outside, we could still see some of those fire weather risks continue into our Wednesday. After that, for the rest of the week, mostly tracking our temperatures into the mid-80s for us, staying pretty consistent before we start to potentially see that chance for some 90s picking back up into early next week. All of this, of course, we have been tracking here in the KREM 2 Weather Center between Jenny, Michelle, and I, and we'll continue to keep you posted about the latest for our weather impact alert in order to keep you safe and alert. Have a great night, everyone.